Hey everybody, welcome back to Overtake. I'm not alone today, as you can see. Michael and I are joined by Matt Lewis, producer for NASCAR 25. We're getting really close to release now. As we're recording this, I think it's 2 weeks about-ish, or just about.
Not
Um,
even 10
Not
days.
even 10 days, yeah.
Yeah. 10 days
So
till early access. Yeah.
So things are heating up, yeah, by the minute, you could say. I mean,
Yeah.
Matt, you've had a pretty busy schedule, so we're happy to have you here. Welcome, first of all.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate you guys having me.
We've mentioned a few times before, I think in one of the dev updates as well, that NASCAR 25 is the game you guys always wanted to make, and now it's almost here. So with all the stress, how exciting is this to be almost at release day now?
Yeah, we're really excited. I was kind of talking to you guys before we started here, but the support that we've got from the entire industry really has been pretty monumental for me. I've been doing this all the way back even to the old EA days in the early 2000s, and I've never really seen this level of support from the race teams and the drivers and even NASCAR themselves with their entire gaming division. And yeah, it's been really cool to see, and I can't wait to just, as you said, kind of finally get it out there and let the fans see for themselves what we've been talking about for so long. Because, for better or for worse, we did have a bit of a lull there in the NASCAR console gaming space, right? And so there has been a lot of talking. There has been a lot of sort of filling that void with diaries and talking and all that. And so now it's, right around the corner. Now we can actually get the gameplay out, and I'm super excited about it.
I think it's been 4 years since the last official, like, fully fledged NASCAR game. You could say it's about time.
I think the biggest thing I would say about iRacing and how we're different is the trust that we've built, right? So I think everybody knows iRacing's been a partner with NASCAR for, it's actually 30 years. If you count the Papyrus years, which was the predecessor, as you guys know, to iRacing, it's a 30-year history, right? But on the console side, that's all PC and sim based, right? But on the console side, in that same 30 years, I think there's been 5 or 6 different publisher relationships, right? So a lot of fans would probably tell you guys that they've wanted this for a long time and that this has been the right home all along. It just took us a while to kind of circle everything together and have all the right things fall into place where it was finally time to do it. So I try to tell everybody we're not just swooping in to make another 3 or 4 NASCAR games like a lot of the other publishers have. This is a long-term commitment. This is a long-term, we hope to be doing console for the next 30 years, just like the sim has been, right? And truly building a franchise. And you ask, how does the Maddens of the world and the college footballs and the FIFAs and all those games get to where they are? Well, it's consistency, right? It's having the same team, the same leadership, the same amount of funding and being well funded and having that opportunity to sort of grow and not have this thing like we've had in NASCAR console where it seems like every 4 or 5 years you got to start over with a new publisher, right? So that's the exciting part for us is like, yes, NASCAR 25 is amazing and we can't wait to get that out, but it's what the future is going to bring 3, 5, 10 years from now. That's super exciting as well.
Yeah, I think a good comparison there would also be the F1 series of games, I think, because they've been with Codemasters and now EA, but technically still Codemasters, I guess, for what now, 15, 16 years? I suppose that's what you guys are aiming for with the new NASCAR franchise then, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we talk about this being the foundational year, but that's the key and that's where you want to get to is that 15, 16 year relationship so that you can really build the features out that you've always wanted to build and kind of take this thing full circle.
Yeah, that also means that not everything is going to be on board, of course, initially. But there are, of course, and we've seen that in some of the previews, some really cool things in NASCAR 25 already. Personally, I really like the presentation, for instance. I'm a big fan of just, creating an event feel, basically, instead of just plonking you in a car at the track and saying, have fun with it, basically. Which element is your favorite in the game right now?
Yeah, I think there's 2 things for me. The driving itself is going to blow people away. I know I'm biased. I know I'm a producer. I know I'm kind of a marketing guy, and I've not by choice, but I've sort of become the face of the product here lately in the last 2 months. But um, even I was blown away the first time that iRacing really went in there and started tweaking and tuning on all the numbers and getting the physics right. It was mind blowing to me. And like I said, I've worked on a lot of NASCAR games, and it's in the first 3 months of our development cycle, it was already the best driving NASCAR game on console I had ever played. So um, I think that alone is worthy of the hype and the praise and some of the things that we're getting from the drivers. But the second piece, as you said, is the presentation. Um, I've always felt like NASCAR's been a little weird in that there's been this like mix of TV style, and then all of a sudden they drop you into the race and now you're in the car taking the green flag, right?
Right.
This year we made a sort of conscious effort to really make you feel like it's the driver's perspective, right? So when you go into race weekend, it's not presentation TV style with overlays and all that stuff. It's you sitting in the car inside the garage, right? Your spotter's talking to you on the radio. Even when we do the little pre-race things with, the gentlemen start your engines and all that, it's still from you standing on pit road. You guys saw this in the demo. You're kind of looking up at the jets flying over and stuff like that. So I just think that's a cool sort of immersion element. We talk about immersion and emotion of these drivers and what they go through in a real world race weekend, and trying to pull as much of that into the game as possible.
You mentioned the jets, for instance. Is this something that's kind of track specific that'll change? Because obviously some events are bigger than others. I mean, Daytona is obviously a season highlight, so it's probably a bit grander in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah. So there's different styles for day races versus night races. You'll see fireworks and things like that at night, but there's also, to your point, there are different levels, right? So if you go in the ARCA series, for example, there's much less sort of pomp and circumstance. It's really just hop in the car and go, versus the Cup Series Daytona, like you said.
Yeah, just a quick one regarding also the presentation and also the career mode, as we already learned a lot of stuff in the career mode as well, that will have social media and stuff and messages and a certain management elements. So does it also have elements of the Netflix show, like Full Speed?
Not yet, but that's something we've talked about. Particularly, I don't want to give too much away of career mode, but we have some turning points in career this year. And so there are elements where you have a PR manager, you'll have opportunities where you might get to cameo in a movie, like things like that kind of throw at you throughout your career. And the goal there is twofold. One, it's just to kind of mix things up, right? You might have a big turning point where your hauler gets in an accident on the way to the track, and so that costs you one of your chassis, or you might lose a bunch of money, or you might have an investor that comes in and he throws a ton of cash at you, and that may help you level up to the next series faster. Things like that really sort of have this big impact and moment, if you will, during your career. But then the second thing is replayability, right? If you go through and you're the type that wants to win quickly and you want to go through and win that championship, you can get all the way to Cup, win your championship, start over, and you'll have completely different story elements along the way that'll make it feel different.
Of course, you mentioned the driving already, and that is a big step up compared to what was there in the past. It's a difficult dance, if you will, to make that work for both controller and wheel users, right? What was that like for you guys?
Yeah, so one of the things we like to say is that we're definitely not trying to take the sim and just make it work on console, right? It's a different audience. It's a much wider audience. But having said that, you're exactly right. We do want that experience for sort of the widest level of gamers as possible, right? So from somebody who's literally never played a racing game in their life, being on the controller and having all the assists on and having a great experience, all the way to the guy who is a sim player and maybe wants to just experience career or some of the things they can't do on the sim side. They can get in there, turn everything off, and put in a wheel and pedals and have a great time as well. So it's honestly just time, right? It's the time to go through and tweak and tune everything to be the right experience at each of those different levels. And as you guys know, we showed it a little bit in the demo, but there's so many options, individual options for both you as the player car with what assists you have and what level of assists, but also in the AI. It's not just, you got one knob to turn up and down for their speed, but there's all kinds of different things that you can adjust. You can adjust the pack size, you can change the way contact affects them, you can change all kinds of things. And so I think if people really take the time, the first hour, let's say, after they buy this game, to really go into all those settings and kind of set the game up for what they want and the style of gameplay that they want. And there's different types of players too, right? Like we see some people go into career that want to fight. They go in and they want to finish 30th and then 20th and then top 10s, and maybe it takes them 3 or 4 seasons in each level to move up. And they can do that. They can do that by turning the AI up a little more and having a more challenging experience. Or then there's the flip side, which is like, I just want to get in and start winning right away, and maybe 1 season per series and I'm already in cup and winning the championship, and they can do that as well. So
yeah, so talking about customizability and adjust your experience, will the camera be in a similar way like in iRacing, where you have like good control over your camera positions and different camera angles, for instance? Like,
no, not for this one. But having said that, there are multiple views for each. So there's 2 different chase cams. There's sort of a narrow and a pulled out one. Same thing for cockpit. There's one that's super tight to the windshield, and then there's one that's a little further pulled back. So I think
no
that's one of
pitch
the
adjustment or left and right adjustments, like seat position adjustments?
No, just the 2 standard for cockpit for this year.
You've already mentioned that at the start, or touched upon it rather, that it's not just taking iRacing and making it work on console, right? But you also mentioned there are elements of iRacing in how the game handles. So I suppose as someone who runs NASCAR or Cup cars in iRacing will feel right at home in the new game then, right?
It's interesting because that's been some of the feedback we've gotten from the drivers, is like they'll turn everything off and they'll be like, oh man, this feels like iRacing, right? And I think there's 2 parts to that. One is just it's tuned literally by the same guys. And by the way, if you don't know this, the guys who do the physics tuning, even on the sim and for our game, they are former race engineers, right? Like they actually worked for, I think some of them worked for Petty Motorsports back in the day. There's a guy from Joe Gibbs. There's a guy that worked at Hendrick. Like they are the real deal race engineers that used to work on the real world cars, right? And so there's a reason why iRacing on the sim side is one of the best in the world, and it comes from the talent that these guys possess. But that's part of it. But then the second part of it is the assets. So the laser scanned tracks, the laser scanned car models, all of those sort of elevated physical assets, we get those directly from the sim and we don't change a thing. So I think what makes the sim feel so realistic isn't just the physics, but it's also the bumps and the dips, and the banking is exactly correct, and all of those things with the tracks are, as you guys know, to the square inch accurate, right? So you combine those 2 things and then layer in all the adjustability I was talking about with options and things like that, and it really makes for this sort of incredible experience across the board.
All right, I think that's also pretty important in oval racing when it comes to tracks that are very, very similar. I mean, there are a lot of 1.5 milers out there, right? But they still differ in certain aspects, right? Not every oval is the same, obviously. I mean, tell that to the crowd who always claim it's just turning left. But there are very subtle differences that can have a pretty big impact, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
Is there anything like as a tutorial maybe, or something to help you get started if you're not familiar with oval racing, or specifically oval racing in stock cars, because that's obviously very different to Formula cars like IndyCar, right?
Yeah, so we're going to do some video content as the game launches and gets out there. Actually, I was with Steve Letarte yesterday morning on his podcast with NASCAR, and he did a cool video where he just kind of stepped through all the car setup options and what they do, and moving this up does this, moving this down does that. As you guys know, the level of detail that you can get into on those car setup screens can be pretty overwhelming. And so one of the things that we do is there's 2 levels of car setup, right? There's a slider version that just literally goes from loose to tight. And then if you want to, you can hit the shoulder button and go deeper in and then start to adjust all of the individual spring settings and things like that. But so that's one thing, is there's sort of, again, it's back to giving levels, right? And helping people step into these more complicated things. The other thing is, in the practice mode, we have goal times. And so, you know, historically in NASCAR games, practice was just kind of there. There was no real point in running it. But for us, based on how you have the AI set, there is a goal time. And so when you go into practice, if you've run 10, 12 laps and you're still not hitting the goal time, you probably need to go back out and either change some settings or turn the AI down or whatever. It doesn't tell you exactly kind of what the pole time's going to be or anything like that. It's more just a relative time that says, okay, if you go into practice and in 5 or 6 laps you hit this goal time, you're going to be reasonably competitive and have a good time, right? And so that's one of the big changes, I think, over some of the older games that we've put in.
We've also received a bunch of questions from our community. One question that has come up was, will players have full control over their car in pit lane if they choose to?
Yeah, so this one comes up a lot on console, and nobody that I know has ever done it. We don't have it in NASCAR 25. There's reasons that kind of go on and on forever with why that is or isn't a thing. But the main thing is opportunity cost. And so we could pretty easily and pretty quickly flip a switch, right, and give you control and let you drive on pit road. The issues come in where people, whether intentionally or not intentionally, start doing bad things, right? Driving into other pit stalls, hitting the AI cars off their lines, trying to get into the pit stalls, stuff like that. As you know, pitting in NASCAR is already a very challenging sort of choreographed thing, right? And so it's more, you start down this rabbit hole, right? And you're like, all right, if we give them control, now we got to fix this. Then we got to pay attention to this. Then we got to have a system that makes sure, the AI gets back to their line. And like, it seems like one of those things, like, man, it seems really easy. Why don't they just do it? Until you really start to unpack all that stuff. And suddenly it becomes this massive feature that's like, well, you can do that, or you can have, some really important thing in career mode instead, right? And so I won't say it'll never happen, but it's just one of those things it gets low on the priority list because of everything else that we have to do and because of the time sink that it creates, if that makes sense.
Adding to that, and that's not necessarily a community question, but something that's come to my mind as well. We've seen that in the previews, and I think previous NASCAR games handled it similarly. Whenever a caution comes out, you get the opportunity to basically sim to the green. You get to pick if you want to pit or not, and then skip the yellow laps. Can you actually run them yourself if you want to? Can be a bit tedious, obviously, but can you run behind the pace car?
No, that kind of falls into that that same bucket, right? It's intentionally kind of sped up and a more efficient process. You do get to set all your pit options and make some choices there. A lot of people have asked about pit animations. I see that one come up on social media a lot. They are there, but you only get them during the green flag stop because the yellow sort of skips that whole process and just puts you back in line at the restart. You don't see them under yellow, but if you go in and you have a full pit stop during the green flag, you'll see them, and they're very similar to what the animations are on the sim.
How about the AI drivers? Do they use the same physics as the player car by any chance?
Very similar. I would imagine that would be the same answer on any racing game, right? Like we try to keep them as similar as possible. There are some things that you have to slide one way or the other to just make them have the right behaviors in certain circumstances and things like that. But they are fundamentally based on the same physics, yes.
Especially because the slipstream and the wind dynamics or like aerodynamic elements are so important in the stock car sport. That also adds to this physics discussion of do the other drivers use the same physics? So it's like the airflow and aerodynamics.
Yes.
Is that shared across the whole field? Like if there's three cars and two cars around you, that makes a huge difference, obviously.
Yes, 100%. So they have logic to seek out the draft specifically, more so in the upper ranges, right? So call it over 175-ish. It's not track specific, it's more speed specific, right? Like once they've broken a certain threshold, they know that they're going to get that huge benefit, and they will hit you. Like you see them bump draft in real life at Daytona and Talladega. If you turn them up, enough to where they know that this line needs to go and you're not going, they will get up there and they'll bump you and try to create that bump draft.
Yeah, side draft. And a group of 2 or 3 cars will naturally be quicker than just one AI driver being alone on track. So they also have 100%. This like drag going on. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, especially like I said, if you put them up at 105 and you're asleep on the restart and you miss the draft, you're done. Yep. You've got no chance to go catch them. But side drafting works as well. It's difficult intentionally, right? We didn't want to make it super easy where you can just kind of move up next to a guy and slow him down. It's the worst term ever, side draft in NASCAR, because it's not actually side draft. It's more side drag is what you're really doing. You're dumping drag onto the other car next to you and slowing them down. It looks like you're the one speeding up, but that's not how it works at all. You're sort of dumping a ton of air, creating a bunch of disturbed air and causing a bunch of drag for them.
NASCAR and the other championships in the game are predominantly oval series, but there are a few road courses in there as well. How difficult or how different was the process to get the AI rate on those then?
Yeah, it is a big challenge, and I think it's a big challenge in the real world too, to get the cars to handle correctly on all these different tracks. Ask any crew chief and they'll tell you, right? It's a heavy stock car, and so getting them to turn right and left and hairpins and all the crazy stuff that they experience on a Chicago road course or something like that is challenging. But that's another one that I think will be interesting to see people get in there and work on the setups. And really get some cars that can handle well in those road courses.
Real quick on the AI to wrap that up real quick. Will they make mistakes and wreck other cars intentionally, maybe even, or is that kind of toned down a little bit?
They'll definitely make mistakes. They don't typically do anything sort of on purpose, right? But you'll see you'll definitely see guys. And by the way, we have driver ratings as well, and so how they perform, I think it's 6 individual buckets of track types. So there's like a super speedway, a speedway, a road course, concrete, short track, and all those ratings get sort of mashed together for an overall rating as well. It's interesting. There's going to be some content coming out with driver ratings and sort of the drivers reacting to their ratings. It's not 100% fair in our world, I don't think, because it's not like you look at Madden or you look at a soccer game, it's the guy, right? It's their speed, It's their agility, it's their whatever. Like a lot of these guys, it's part car too. Like nobody can really ever answer that debate of like how much of it is car, how much of it is race team, how much of it is driver. And so, there's going to be an extra debate in NASCAR, I think, because it's like, well, that guy's really, like, you look at a Kyle Busch, right? Like, clearly, he was running better in the Gibbs equipment than he has been recently in the Childress equipment, like stuff like that, where there's just some ancillary factors there. So it'll be an interesting debate for sure.
While we were on the topic of tracks, there are obviously quite a few in them. Also because you have 4 different series in the game, right? Are they restricted to the respective series they run on in real life, or is that just a free-for-all, basically?
Unfortunately, yes. And this is another just time sink, right? It's something that we would have liked to have gotten to. Some of the old NASCAR games in the past let you run a ARCA car on tracks where they don't compete, or vice versa, a cup car on a track where they don't typically compete. But it just kind of goes back to that same thing, right? It's not just the driving itself, but that's part of it, creating all the car setups per track and then tuning the AI speeds for different different car models, stuff like that. And so it just becomes this exponential workload, right? Where it's like 30 something tracks times 4 series times, all the individual car setups and things like that. And so it's something we definitely have to put in the future plans. We just didn't quite get to it for this first iteration.
I mean, you've talked about making this a franchise again as well, also long term. That sort of implies yearly releases. Is that what's planned, or is it more like a bi-yearly or something else?
I think we're leaning towards a yearly release, similar to what the EA titles and things like that do. I don't know why we wouldn't. So that's definitely where we're leaning. But that said, I think there's interesting things going on in the gaming space in general, right? Like, especially on consoles, I think Xbox is pushing more towards this live service approach in particular. And so part of that answer 3, 4, 5 years from now could be dependent on where the industry as a whole goes, less about what we want to do, iRacing and NASCAR 25, but more about just where are things headed more globally, right? But I think for the shorter term, yeah, it's gonna be a yearly cycle.
How about additional content then? I mean, love it or hate it, DLC is everywhere today, or these days rather. Do you have anything planned for that, or is year one strictly about the game, getting that out and refining it to the point where you're satisfied with it?
Yeah, so there is a gold edition. The gold edition predominantly has a bunch of extra paint schemes. I think there's 200 and something extra skins in there. There's some career accelerators with some VIP employees that'll help you be more efficient in your R&D, and back to that same notion of helping you progress through the series faster. Extra cash, things like that. But no major things, like there's no other series planned or like big sort of giant features for this year for sure. It's, as I said, it's getting the foundation correct. I think year 2 will have some of that as well, where it's some of the things that we didn't get to, which I've even mentioned here in this interview, we'll make sure that we get in for year 2 and kind of build from there.
So talking about different versions, as also there's a big collectors scene, I would say, in the motorsport crowd in general. What made you decide not to have a physical copy of the game? Aren't you missing out on a lot of sales and also visibility, especially in stores on the shelves?
Yeah, so I don't know how it is for you guys, but the gaming aisles are nearly non-existent here. It's pretty crazy, especially Xbox. If you go in, you might see, how they have sort of sections of games, right? Or sections of aisles. There might be one section of Xbox. There's typically maybe 2 for PlayStation. And then there's a sizable Switch market, obviously. But this is another one where I say that's less a choice that we made and more a choice that the industry made. I think if they had their way, the EAs and the Ubisofts and the big boys would all not do retail anymore, because it's a painful process. Like, let's be honest. And I'm not trying to diss an entire segment here, but the discs are useless. The minute you put them in the tray, they become coasters, right?
Yeah, just
everybody does a day one update. Everybody replaces the disc, and like, sure, there's still, I guess, a market for like trading in games to get your $4 from GameStop or whatever it is, like, but I think that's slowly going away as well.
GameStop even stopped in Germany. They completely left the market here. So
yeah,
I see your point, kind of, but it's just maybe the nostalgia sometimes that is missing all the nice collector's boxes.
And I agree with you on one big thing. Again, this is my publishing brain, which is the marketing, right? I think it's unfortunate that it has gone that way, and that it is, because I remember those days, man. Like, you walked in on a launch day and the entire freaking store, not just the gaming aisle, like everywhere, like it's right there, right? Like, that's a Madden program with Doritos that we did back in the day. Like, there's bags of Doritos in the snack aisle with Madden branding all over it. Like, that kind of stuff is really, really cool, and unfortunately just sort of caught up in that industry shift. We did toy with the idea of creating something, right? Like a collectible piece, or something that looks like a box, or a small diecast car or something like that that sort of just commemorates each title. And I don't think that's completely gone away, but there's some cool things we could do in the future potentially. We still made a big deal over the cover and the cover reveal and all that stuff, even though it's technically just an art screen on the digital stores, right? But it is still a big deal for the drivers to kind of be the cover athlete.
I mean, people are talking about the NHL curse there, the game curse. If you're on the cover, you're gonna have a bad season. That's held true more often than not, I guess. But
Madden too. Madden's it's definitely been a thing more often than not.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's hope it's not going to be the case for NASCAR then.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. So you mentioned for like as the bonus sort of content, a bunch of paint schemes, for instance, which segues nicely into another community question. They were wondering about an in-game paint booth and the ability to create your own schemes. I mean, particularly in career mode, adding your own branding and stuff like that would just add to the immersion. What's the plan for that?
We definitely will have a car creator, as we call it. It will be advanced from, I think, anything they've seen in prior titles for sure. We haven't shown any videos on it yet. We're probably going to do that sometime shortly before launch, just to put some things out and kind of show how that works. It's not just the car itself. There's some other elements, pit boxes, haulers, things like that you can palletize with colors and designs and things like that. So we're excited about it. It's as you guys have probably seen, people spend inordinate amounts of time in there creating all of these old school paint schemes using tiny shapes and rotating them to make old logos and doing all kinds of cool stuff. So we're excited to see what people can create with this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd argue like at least half our download section on Overtake is full of liveries with just ungodly amounts of effort put into them. So yeah, people really care about that.
Weeks and weeks of time for some of these guys. It's pretty awesome.
You can become a premium member on our website, overtake.gg.
It's not just about the daily news, forums, guides, and downloads. It's also a vibrant community. Premium members enjoy extra benefits such as an ad-free browsing experience, special community deals, discounts, and Overtake Turbo, which provides setups, coaching, and one free esports setup per month powered by Track Titan. There is also a racing club where you can race with great, fair people without worrying about your driver or safety rating.
And if you love unboxing sim racing gear just as we do, there's a premium member giveaway every month. You can win pedal sets, handbrakes, and nice steering wheels. Another cool feature are community reviews, so you can have a chance to contribute and share your opinion on not yet released hardware or games.
Have your voice heard and help shape the future of sim racing. Join as a premium member on overtake.gg for just €1 a month.
That said, is it planned to have that shareable by any chance? Or is it more of a, you do that for yourself and, be done with it? Is it tied to your save game, basically?
I think that's another one that's probably in the future plans at some point, a more direct way to share. You will be able to see them. So when you race online, there was some legacy issues in some older games on the dirt side of the world that we did where that was not the case, but that has been fixed for NASCAR, so you will be able to see them.
How about the PC version though? Is that can you create just using a template your own liveries and import that to the game, or is it just not possible?
So right now it's still the same car creator. Again, that's probably a future addition that we would look at going forward, but the PC date is actually a little later. 11/11 is the PC date, if you don't know, and 10/14 is the console date.
Major differences between the PC and console versions then?
There were two major things there. One was it was just sort of a later decision. We weren't sure right away. There's some elements that maybe you're competing with the sim yourself a little bit if you do that, or different just kind of schools of thought on how we were looking at it originally, but we heard loud and clear once we got into the announcement and started talking more about the game and all of that stuff that people were really excited to get it on PC for various reasons. And so part of it was just we didn't make the decision until later in the process. But then, yeah, getting all the ancillary things to be supported correctly. And as you guys know, there's hardware conflicts and all kinds of things that you just don't have to deal with on a console game. And so we wanted to sort of give ourselves a cushion or a buffer just to make sure that everything there is squared away. The game runs on PC and has been running on PC. We do demos on PC all the time. So it's less, getting it to work and more just all the ancillary support type stuff.
But since that has come up sometimes among the community, console versions do support wheels and pedals, right?
They do, yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yep. If the hardware itself says it's compatible with the consoles that we're shipping on, it will work, right?
Nice.
There will be cases where ones that don't say that might work, but we don't guarantee that.
Yeah, I have to play the ambassador role of that bloody PC community, the ever-demanding PC community, but unlocked FPS probably, right? Or is the PC version also locked to 60 FPS?
I believe it will be unlocked. I am not the technical guy, so I am the wrong guy to ask PC technical stuff.
I think in the preview version or preview session rather, on Discord, it was mentioned that triples would be supported, VR wouldn't be. Yeah, the scope of that. I mean, if you're not the tech guy, it's probably difficult to dive into that in that regard, but we'll try ourselves once the preview versions for PC are there. 10 days you mentioned before release now. What's the plan there?
Like I said, it's been sort of an endless stream of NASCAR support, and just there's another gameplay deep dive. So if you watched the Anthony Alfredo piece that we did, it was just kind of 10 or 15 minutes of him playing the game. There's another one coming with Ty Majeski. He gets a little more into setups and kind of customizing his experience, showing how changing certain things in the car setup immediately affects the truck and why you might want to do one way or the other, similar to what I was talking about with Letarte. So we're excited about that one because that'll really show, I think, to those who haven't seen the Discord like you guys do, more physical aspects of the driving itself, right? It's always hard to I know people say, they want to see gameplay and they want to do this, but even watching it is still hard, right? Because you don't know what it feels like, and you have to just kind of trust somebody else what they're telling you. But I do think this video, you can see the truck getting loose coming out of the corner on, I think he was at Richmond maybe, but you can see those physical aspects of he'll go in and chase something and you see the result right away, which I think will help. So we're excited about that one. We've got some other things that I can't reveal yet, but definitely more content, right? We've got partnerships with some of the biggest drivers in the world, and so that's all going to ramp up as we get closer to launch. All
right, that sounds exciting for NASCAR fans for sure. Will that gameplay also feature wheel-based gameplay, or is it controller for the most part? And again,
I believe it's all controller.
Okay.
We haven't done any wheel stuff. We definitely could, but maybe that's something we can put on the plan here for some of these other driver pieces.
Because that's also been something people have been wondering. But I mean, we'll also be happy to bring them wheel gameplay once we have the preview versions, of course. So
just for you, maybe personally, Matt, what's your recommended way of playing NASCAR 1025? Is it full sim mode with a steering wheel and 100% races, or is it the more casual approach on the couch with a controller? What's your play style, and what would you recommend to people?
I'm definitely a more casual guy. I mean, I think this whole thing is more built for career mode in particular. We see astounding numbers in terms, if you break it down from buckets of percentage of gameplay, right? It's 70+% is all career mode. Multiplayer is second in the 20 to 25% range, and then everything else combined is the last 15% or whatever. So tons and tons and tons of hours in career, and so that's where we focus a ton of our effort and a ton of our time. But there are some people that run the 100% races and things like that, and they do work. So again, I think that's the beauty of our game, right? And I think that's the beauty of of console gaming in general is giving people the ability to experience it however they personally want, right? And like what I may want might be completely different than what the two of you guys want.
Yeah, sure. So the one feature that you wish that could have made it to NASCAR 25 that is maybe coming in the next games, what would that be?
That's a tough one because there's a lot. The one thing I will say, and again, it sounds super salesy for me to say this probably, but we're fans, right? Like you can see behind me, those are all Earnhardt cars from back in the day. Like we are fans first. And so there is 0% chance that anything that's said on social media hasn't been discussed and argued and sometimes passionately argued about whether it's going to make it in these games or not, right? So I see that sort of, you guys know how social media is, right? But you see those sort of dismissive comments like, oh, these guys have no idea what they're doing. Like 0% chance we haven't talked about whatever it is. I'll answer it this way, and I'll say that one of the coolest games I ever worked on was probably the EA 05 or 06, I would say. And so that whole element of silly season and being able to hire drivers, have them drive your other cars for you, having an opportunity to go take over somebody else's ride at Hendrick Motorsports, like that's the North Star. Now, if you look at EA, it took them 5 or 6, maybe even 7 iterations to get there, right? So that's what I always try to circle people back to is like, unfortunately, we can't just like snap our fingers and make that happen in 26 or 27. I don't know when it'll come, but I know that every fan and every one of us feel like that's sort of the pinnacle is when you can get all that stuff in there and make it feel similar to the real sport, whether they like it or not. That's a really big part of the sport is the drivers moving around and people sort of targeting certain cars that they want to get into and things like that. So at least for me, that's the one that I really, really, really want to get to.
I think then, yeah, like I said, we covered a lot of ground with some very cool insight here. So yeah, hope everyone watching enjoyed hearing about the upcoming NASCAR game. We're definitely looking forward to putting our hands on that. So thank you for taking the time, Matt. And yeah, let's look forward to release day then.
10 more days till early access. But yeah, I appreciate you guys, appreciate the support, and yeah, thanks for the time.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you who tuned in. See you next time. Bye.